We're talking to Joan Rees, Gulf High School, class of 1952.
Correct.
And when did you come to Newport Richey?
My family came here in 1938, but my grandparents used to winter down here in the teens and the 20s.
And did you then go to grade school in Newport Richey?
I went to Pierce Grammar.
And you stayed here all that time until you graduated high school?
Yes, I was here all the time till I graduated high school in '52. Then a bunch of us went to Tampa to work, and then I went to Ohio, and I was in Ohio till 1970. My company moved me to North Carolina. I was there till '80, and then I came back home.
Now, of course, Pierce Grammar School was where the city library is now. Do you have any memories of Pierce Grammar School?
Well, I have Mr. Mounts. He was a kind of a crazy teacher. I was in the 4th grade, and they skipped Bobby McAlpine. And I told our principal, I says, "Why did you skip Bobby McAlpine? I'm smarter than he is." So next year we took our achievement tests and speed readings, and he came in and he said, "Do you still want to skip?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Come on, you're in the 6th grade." And I went home and told my mother I'm in the 6th grade. She says, "No, you're not." I says, "Yes, I am." She didn't believe it until I brought my report card home.
Now, do you remember at all World War II, and what it was like here?
I remember ration points. We had ration stamps. And I remember we had bees, and my father would have, we could get ration points for the bees to feed sugar to the bees somehow, and we would feed the bees sugar honey and use the sugar for ourselves.
Do you remember when the war ended, what it was like?
No.
You were, I guess, too young.
I don't remember.
When you went to
I remember the songs, you know.
Yeah.
Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree and the White Cliffs of Dover and those kind of things, but that's all I remember.
Yeah. Now, you went to Pierce until grade 6 or 8?
Well, I was there 5 years. Went from 1 to 6, and I graduated. So I was there 5 years because I skipped a year.
And then you went to 7th grade at Gulf High School? But it was called the junior department? Or
no, it was just Gulf High School.
It was Gulf High School starting in 7th grade?
Yeah.
And, of course, that was where Schwetman is now. And do you remember any teachers from Gulf High School that you especially liked?
Yes.
Can you name a few?
I remember Mr. McMickle. He would make girls grab their ankles that weren't behaving and whip them. I remember Mr. Capdeville held Chester True out of the 2nd-story window by his ankles. I remember McIntyre. He had this big club, I don't know what it was, paddle, and if he couldn't catch anybody to hit him with him, he'd throw it at them.
So was paddling students,
oh, yes.
that was common?
Oh, yes.
That was the main punishment?
Girls, too.
There was no, we have a thing called ISS now, but there was in-school suspension where you just went to a separate room and stayed there for the day.
Oh,
they didn't do that.
No, we had corporal punishment.
And it was not done by the principal, it was done by the teacher.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Boys or girls?
Boys or girls.
And now tell me about the guy.
I never was paddled, though.
I know you were like Miss Wonderful. You were, I know, most popular and most school spirit I saw in the yearbook. You were everything.
But I never got paddled.
Yeah. Well, now,
Mr. Capdeville did throw a washcloth at me one day.
Is that right? I guess that was like a famous episode when the student was held by his ankles out the window by the teacher. That was a one-time thing, not a regular thing.
Yes, and it's the same Chester True that the boys nailed into. We had a roll-top desk, and they nailed Chester True. He was kind of small, and they nailed him into the roll-top desk.
Now tell me about, there was a cow brought into the school, is that right?
More than one.
Now tell me about that.
The boys from Odessa. I think one of the Friersons and some of those, yeah, they put the cows right upstairs into the 2nd floor of the school.
So cows do climb steps, apparently.
Well, if somebody's pulling them.
And this was done, I guess, just as a prank.
Yeah.
And
See,
what happened?
We had no entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, we had no television or anything to watch.
And a teacher's car was brought into the...
Miss Cheeley, she was our librarian. And she was this kind of a thin lady. I think she was from Georgia, and she wore her hair up in braids around her head. And when it was cold, she had her pajamas right under her skirt, and she'd just roll them up, and every once in a while you see her pajamas coming down under her skirt. Well, the boys, she had one of these little foreign cars, and the boys took the car, and they put it upstairs. You know, those steps are wide there in the school, and they had her car was on the 2nd floor.
Now again, so there was no such thing as junior high school. You were in high
No.
school beginning in the 7th grade.
It wasn't considered junior high, middle school or anything.
Yeah.
It was just 6 grades in Pierce Grammar and 6 grades in the high school.
And did most students ride a bus or walk to school?
Well, they came all the way from Arapika on the bus.
Yeah.
And
Did you ride a bus?
yes, and until I missed it. I would miss it half the time. They picked me up like at Garden Lane, but I was always quite late and missed the bus and had to walk. And then Coach Logano and Coach Semigo lived near me, so I got a ride quite often.
Now you were a cheerleader beginning in what grade?
9th.
All the way through
All the
12th
way
grade.
through. Mm-hmm.
And typically there were how many cheerleaders?
I think maybe 6.
All girls?
6 or 7. No, we had Lamar Crumley, who was he was a boy cheerleader. He was the only one that we had, though.
And
he
how
was
were
the year ahead of me.
How were the cheerleaders chosen?
By votes from the class. I mean, by the student body.
Really?
You got up and you tried out, and they were voted. You were voted in.
And did you go to all of the football games?
Oh yes.
And all the boys' basketball
yes.
games?
We would ride the bus. See, the girls played basketball before the boys, and so we would ride the buses together.
Oh, I see.
And then the cheerleaders would oftentimes ride the buses with the football team to wherever we were going.
And I guess that was fun.
Oh yeah.
I was going to ask how the turnout was for the girls' basketball games, but since you played them the same time
Right.
as the boys, I assume
Varsity girls played, and then varsity boys.
there was also JV?
No,
There was no JV.
we didn't have enough students.
And was there a good turnout in Sims Park for the games?
Pretty much. You have to remember, there was no entertainment here. We didn't have television. The only thing was basically our sports. And that's all we had to do. And basically the people in town, the movie, sometimes we had a movie, sometimes we didn't have a movie theater working. But our sports were our only real activity. The guys played, there was, during Sundays, there was a hardball league that the older men played. And then there was softball games 2 nights a week that they had leagues for, but we didn't have any other really entertainment.
Now the basketball games are played at night or in the afternoon.
Some of them,
So there was lighting in
yes,
Sims
there
Park
was light.
and,
Yeah,
and bleachers.
right.
And was there a homecoming parade? You know, we have one in downtown. I knew it started at least in the late 50s. I didn't know about early 50s.
So. That's hard. You know, it's been 55 or so years. But we used to have snake dances before a football game from Gulf High School downtown Newport Richey. And we'd snake dance, you know, everybody would in the school, and we'd go down in the middle of town and then do cheers and everything.
Yeah, you gave me a picture of the cheerleaders in town. So
Right.
you had like a pep rally in town.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the pep rallies were in town, not at the school.
Well, we'd have them in the assembly, because I remember I was head cheerleader and I couldn't carry a tune, and I remember one of the cheerleaders says, "Joan, don't sing because you get us all off key." But we would get up on the stage and we'd do pep rallies in the school as well.
And I guess the attendance at, for example, home football games was probably pretty good in town because
For us and for what was the amount of people in our area at that time, yeah.
And your graduation was held where?
The school.
In the school? Because I know it was in Sims Park some years
No, we were in school.
in school. About how many students were in your graduating class?
30, and that included Arapika, what is now Hudson, Port Richey, Newport Richey, what's Holiday, now Elfers, Odessa, and parts of Anclote.
So people who lived in Land O'Lakes, I guess, would have gone to Zephyr Hills.
Right.
Yeah. And were
But you know what time those kids from Arapika had to get up on the bus in the morning?
No, I don't. What
Very
time?
early. I'm not sure if it very. Ask Johnny Norfleet.
What time? Let's see. Were students allowed to leave for lunch?
Well, yes, but if we did, we'd just go over to Zane Rankin's across the street. We had a lunchroom. In fact, there was times that the only female of any consequence in our school was the cook.
And again, I'll move this question earlier. Were students allowed to smoke cigarettes?
I don't know if there was, nobody even questioned that, but there were a couple of boys that'd go behind shop, and that was you know what, they're smoking behind shop. But just, a couple of boys, they didn't smoke in the school proper.
Did the teacher smoke?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because,
I can't remember.
now at the new schools in the county, teachers can't smoke anywhere, but in the older schools, they have a designated area for teachers to smoke.
No, there was no designated area.
Yeah.
You have to realize we had very, very little rules. In fact, I mean, they did things like when I was talking back about Bobby McAlpine put a stink bomb in the principal's office, and Bobby McAlpine went on to be a coach and won all sorts of national things on sports games and from college. There's been, we had good people. Dixie Hendrick graduated with me. He retired as director of director of operations, DuPont Automotive. Sam Casson, or Walt Casson, we called him Sam. He was a very successful person. Bobby McAlpine was very successful in our class, and we had a very basic education, but it was a very good education. And we treasured our days in school. I cried when I got out of grammar school, and I cried when I got out of high school.
With such a small class, did you all have the same schedule pretty much?
Pretty much. We might have gone to different classes at different times, but we all got there the same time in the morning and left in the same time in the afternoon.
And were there bells to change classes?
I imagine. I don't remember, but I imagine.
Was Fred Marchman a teacher when you were there?
Oh, yes.
Can you tell me about him?
Oh, yes. Fred Marchman started there was an eligibility list for football players. They had to make a certain grade. Well, Fred Marchman started an eligibility list for girls, for cheerleaders, because of my math. And I have told him many times when he was still alive, he swears up and down he didn't. But Mr. Marchman, if you got him talking about water, government, anything else, we didn't have to worry about math class. But he was a very remarkable man, a very good man, but a very strict man.
Did you have a junior-senior prom? Where was
Yes,
that? Where
yes.
was that held?
Well, it was all over. In fact, I was just looking. There was one held in St. Petersburg. We had one at, that's that place in Tarpon that turned into a psychiatric hospital. We had one at the Hacienda Hotel. They were kind of all over, wherever we could get a venue.
Well, tell me about your business that you own.
Well, I was away for 30 years, and my company in North Carolina sold, and so I came home, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I belonged to Business and Professional Women, and Margaret Weiskopf owned Weiskopf Travel, and she was in our BPW. So she says, you need to come and do some outside selling for me. So I went in and I started working and I learned the business. And then I had a friend, Phyllis Miller, who says, oh, I only travel because I only do real estate so I can travel. So we opened Gonigan Travel in 1986. And Phyllis started having grandchildren and she wanted to retire. So I bought her out in 1995. And if I'd have been in my 9-to-5 job in Ohio or North Carolina, I would have never gotten to travel all the places that I have. I've been on all 7 continents. I bungee jumped in New Zealand and rode down the Nile, and I've had a wonderful life. And I'm so happy that I can work here. I have places for people to work, and I have friends come in that I've known forever. They come and they visit and have tea, and it's just a nice, homey place to have a business and to have people that I've known all my life come in. And we just had a 55 or 56-year reunion with my class of 52 at my little house on Massachusetts. And we're still friends. We're still family from going to school from first grade. And so it's been a wonderful place to grow up. It's a wonderful place to live. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.